yes, so happy to have you here as Libertarians drinking coffee live. We haven't done one of these in a while, but I'm so happy that we're doing one now. We are trying our best to show people on these shows that I do, Libertarians actually taking action throughout the country, whether they're running for office, whether they're supporting local needs, whether they're out there making things happen in the community, whether they're supporting local candidates, whatever the case may be, we're trying to make that happen. And today I have someone here who I've known for many years, who has been doing all of those things, who literally has been helping candidates, who has been helping out local people, who is doing all the things that we want Libertarians to do. He is the Region 6 rep for the Libertarian National Committee, and he is the founder of Libertarian Mutual Aid, the man himself, Pat Ford. How are you, sir?
Oh, Larry, great. I'm standing outside just in case people are wondering of a soda company run by a small L libertarian. It's called Yacht Club Soda, 110 years old, privately held. They're bottling right now. You can kind of hear them in the distance. Listen, we're in New England, but capitalism, entrepreneurialism is alive and well here, right here in Rhode Island.
Absolutely. And this piece, you brought up just a great piece, which is people often think that libertarians are about one or two things. Like, I'm just some selfish guy and I want to live on my farm and shoot people who come near me or whatever, that kind of thing, right? But that's not true. Many times you find libertarians who are entrepreneurs, who like to, go out and do things to help themselves and their community, but something else. And this is something that we share with many people, is the idea of mutual aid, the idea of, it's not that we are selfish. We just don't want to be compelled. We want to voluntarily help each other. So tell us about your mutual aid group that you put together.
Right. So, and it's funny you say that, because I have a uniform, and people see me in my black long sleeve t-shirts that say Libertarian Mutual Aid all the time. And on the back of it is our motto: we're not from the government, we're actually here to help. And I was in our state house in Rhode Island, and a lady, and the way she was doing it was very gentle. She's looking at my t-shirt, and she's just sort of laughing. And I artificially stern voice, "What's so funny?" And she goes, "Well, that's funny. That's." And then she realized, "Oh, that's real, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah, it's one of our core missions as libertarians, is to eliminate the interference, the chaos, the corruption, the inefficiencies of government in our day-to-day life." And those conditions exist in no better shape or form than in the welfare state. The welfare state has completely lost its sense of what its real mission is on 100 different levels. So what better way to exhibit our connection to the community, to grow real empathy with the issues that are bedeviling our nation, and at the same time honor that mission of replacing government by just simply doing it ourselves. So
this is the piece that I bring up often, and I want to I want to piggyback on this. People often think, you libertarians, right? You guys just want people to die in the streets. No, we want to help people with our own communities, with our own love, with our own families. We want to actually assist and not just service them and keep them in the gutter. We want to pull them out of the gutter and help them. We don't want what's the old saying from Bastiat? Just because I don't want government to do it doesn't mean I don't want it done.
Exactly. So about 3 years ago, because we've been doing this for about 3 years now, so I think we've stood the test of time. I'm a reporter during the week, and I do hard news. So I go to press conferences everywhere. An old joke in Rhode Island is I'll attend the opening of an envelope. So I was actually at a homeless encampment. When I say encampment, I'm talking about tarpaulin tents. I'm talking about people sleeping on dirt. I'm talking about people who literally have nothing. And so I'm at this, it was a hellishly hot midsummer afternoon, a New England special, 90+ degree heat, 90+ degree humidity, brutal. And so we set up this, if you will, press conference right in front of this homeless encampment that the city of Providence was about to destroy.
Wow. And
as we're setting up, a young man comes to me, and I drive possibly one of the sketchiest vans alive. It's an 11-foot cargo van, and without windows. And
so the parents are running away when they see you. The parents see you and run, grab their children and run.
Exactly. So this young man comes up to me, and he's gaunt. And when I say gaunt, I mean just terribly thin. He's only wearing jeans. He has no shoes or socks on. And it's horrifically hot. And he asked me a question and I can say this after 3 years, has literally changed my life. He said to me, "Hey, you got any water in that truck?" And I opened the back of the truck, and just hours beforehand, someone had given me 2 pallets of bottled water that I was bringing up to a friend's meal kitchen. I had no idea what to do with it. All right, 2 pallets. I opened the door, and I guess the polite term would be he was gobsmacked. And then I realized that you had about 30 or so people living in this community, because it had become a community out in an open field with the sun beat. The only thing missing was the giant microscope, the giant lens to beat the sun down on these folks. And they had no water. And when I say no water, it wasn't like there was a water fountain. They had no water at all. And the state of Rhode Island, where I live, Soviet workers' paradise, as I call it, spends millions of dollars on creating this infrastructure to, air quotes, help the homeless, and had not thought about delivering water.
Water, simplest thing, the simplest thing.
The simplest thing imaginable. So we passed out almost a pallet of water. Every tent got a 40-pack, just like you see in the wholesale clubs, every single tent. And I said to him I'd be back, and he kind of gave me that look like, "Yeah, sure you will be."
Yeah,
so
sure you will. Yeah, he didn't believe you.
A week or so later, I came back with more water, and they were very happy to see us.
He must have been, Pat, he must have been blown away, because I bet a lot of people talk trash, act like they care, and never come back.
Yeah, it's a brutal situation. I mean, I don't want to encourage the haters, because there's a lot of folks, incredibly enough, hate homeless people. I've seen that firsthand, and you know I am no liberal. I like to think of myself as one of the most radical libertarians in the National Party, and I'm proud of that. By the way, it's something I wear on my sleeve. So, I saw the young man again, and by the way, that was the last time I ever saw him. And he comes up to me, he goes, "Oh, you have more water, great." He goes, "I hope you don't mind." I'm like, "Okay, what?" And he says, "I used some of that water last week to wash down in." And I still get emotional when I think about that, because in the year 2023 or whatever it was, Americans, a wealthy nation in a city like Providence, which there's money here, has to resort to opening up 16-ounce fluid bottles of Poland Spring water to simply bathe is just horrific. I can't, you know me, I'm never short of words. I still can't describe that feeling, that realization.
Hold on, Pat. That's what you're saying is obviously not true, because government has already solved all these problems. So clearly what you're saying, you've somehow missed something, because government wouldn't lie to us, would they?
Never. Not
exactly. Yes.
And they've got plenty of project managers and chief executive officers and C-suite people walking around the halls of, by the way, a local columnist years ago renamed our state house Halitosis Hall. So we call it Halitosis Hall. So we're walking around Halitosis Hall with clipboards, efficiently trying to figure out how to redistribute money to themselves under the guise of, quote unquote, helping the poor. In Rhode Island, and I suspect in New York as well, there's a whole lot of people getting rich helping the poor.
Absolutely. We have in New York, we have what I call the homeless industrial complex.
Yes.
Absolutely true. They make tons of money ensuring people stay homeless. That's their goal. They ensure people stay homeless, and they make tons of money doing it.
Right. We have a homeless charity here. And again, this is Rhode Island, not New York salaries, but, and essentially it's a real estate management firm, development firm that's hiding under the guise of a not-for-profit and files a Form 990 instead of a typical tax return. One of the beauties, by the way, my fellow libertarian brothers and sister activists, learn to read 990s. They're incredibly simple. They're incredibly easy to look up on non-governmental websites. And they actually, by law, have to talk about the top 10 salaries, the top CEO and executive salaries. At this one particular one in Rhode Island, the CEO is making $375,000 a year helping the poor. It's a charity called Crossroads, and it's a charity, and it's a building that I'm used to passing out water in front of during hot days, because they aren't doing it either. So, the bell went off as to what the obvious need was. And 3 years later now, we distribute, depending on the week, depending on the time of year, anywhere from 10 to 15 different places a week, some weeks as many as 30 and 35 when it gets really hot. And we deliver bottled water via a van to homeless shelters,
Hold on.
encampments.
Is it the same weird van that scares the parents? A different van?
Yes, in fact, we had an LNC meeting here in Rhode Island, and people were kind of looking and saying, "Okay," because most of the time when I'm in a meeting, I'm usually in this van. So it's sort of a running joke amongst the LNC. So Evan, the secretary, has this great home studio. I envy him. Mine, I sleep occasionally because I'm on my way to an LNC event. I sleep in the Hotel DMC. All right, so we're a little rougher around the edges here, but
Okay.
ultimately, we largely stick to water. We also distribute harm reduction supplies, Narcan,
I like
fentanyl
that.
test strips, things like that.
Sure.
We stay away from food because a lot of people do a really good job in food, and you need
Yep.
licenses and insurance. We just
Yeah,
do water.
but hold on. I want to touch this piece you just brought up.
Mhm.
What you did is you looked and you saw what was being done.
Right.
And you filled a gap. You didn't need government to tell you what
No.
gap to fill. You didn't
Nope.
need government to say, let's figure out you need exactly 2 bottles of water per day, per person,
Nope.
per place. None of that. You went, hey, they do food, good for them. No one does water like we do. Let's do
No.
water. You actually let the community and the market decide and actually be better.
Right. And here's the logistics. Water, on one level, it's very simple. But I have donors. We raise money to pay for the truck and the expenses of delivering it. But I have people who donate bottled water to me in large quantities. But I need the right truck, which can work with a pallet jack and drop a palletized, one or two at a time, water right into the back of the truck. So I'm in and out. They give me the donations. And I can also, using that, not destroy someone's Camry, but also we go right up to the edge of the encampment. We get as close to the tent cities as we can get so that we can hand that, because water is ubiquitous. How many folks listening to this will look at their office around them and they'll see that same 2 cases of bottled water that have been sitting there for a couple of years? But imagine on a 90-degree day, and by the way, we deliver all winter as well, you have no water. That simple a bottle of water or that tap that we just take completely for granted. You're talking about people who have nothing. So they might have a bicycle. So you're going to go to a bodega and you're going to spend your last $5 on 2 bottles of water that literally we get for free, or you go to your Costco and spend about 10 cents a bottle. But it's all about the last mile, the distribution effort it takes to get it. I was at a
that's the hard part, right? Getting the water to the actual people where they need it. That's the critical piece.
Right. And in quantity that it makes sense. We went today, there's this wonderful, and I have a great story to tell about these folks called Better Living, Better Lives. And
hold on, before you get on that road, Pat, I want to grab a couple of comments here, if I could. People are popping in. Daniel, thank you for the $5, my friend. He says, after Larry Sharpe, Pat Ford's the hardest worker in the LP. And depends on the day. Sometimes Pat's got me beat. Depends on the day. He's got me beat some days. So yes, it depends. So I appreciate that.
And we are the two Gary Johnson. What's a John? You can't say Gary Johnson Indians, but we are the 2 Gary Johnson Libertarians.
We came in through Gary Johnson. That's true. Yes, absolutely.
Right?
I remember
we're both here.
I was talking to Dave Smith, and Dave Smith was teasing. He was like, Gary Johnson wasn't that exciting. Nobody came into the Libertarian Party through Gary Johnson. I'm like, I did. He's like, damn it. Like, you're the guy who came in. I'm like, I'm not the only one. A lot of people did. So it's kind of funny. So absolutely.
Yeah.
So we'll grab a couple more comments if I could. Christina says, I like this guy. Keep up the great work. You have a fan, Pat. Isn't that nice?
When you're on the LNC, you have a fan.
There we go. Yes. And now Craig says, Pat, I love your motto and your work. Not too shabby.
Thank you. Listen, we work closely with the Methodist Church in downtown Providence that handles some of the most difficult situations imaginable. And the minister there, Kevin, is just one of the most genuinely nice people. And in a very genuine way, he just effusively thanks people. And Pat, oh, wow, you're great. Blah, blah. And I said, Kevin, who's the real winner when you engage in charity? Well, you help all these people. No. I'm going to look at it selfishly. Every day I get to get up and help people.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. We give something they don't have. The government has failed at an epic level in delivering. And it's a very simple transaction. But I've gotten to know folks. I've gotten to know their stories. And, we could talk in a minute or two about the political impact of it. because it has been profound. And I didn't do it for that because I want to end the welfare state. And there's only one way Pat Ford's going to be able to help end the welfare state, which is to replace it with simple act of kindness from members of a community that are taking local and human action. It's actually really that simple. But
It's
I'm the
what
big
I've
winner.
been talking about forever. I say it all the time, right? If we as libertarians want to tear down the government, awesome. We have to have something there. We can't just tear it apart. Gotta have something there because people do need help. People do fall down. People do make mistakes. People do get unlucky. People do become unfortunate. All those things happen. So someone's got to be there to assist. And I love what you're doing. Guys, if you want to support Pat and what he's doing, head over to libertarianmutualaid.org. The link is on Facebook. The link is on YouTube. The link's right here, across the bottom of the screen, libertarianmutualaid.org. Now, you want to tell me a story, Pat? Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's just this past winter, we've been lucky, air quotes, by, say, New York standards in terms of the winters we've had. And again, a lot of the folks that we help are people who are out sleeping in the rough. Sleeping bag, duct tape together tarps. This winter, we paid in spades for this. It was brutal. We went 3-4 weeks.
Pat, hold on 1 second. Move a little bit to your left.
Up.
There we go. Now keep going.
All right. So it was a brutal winter. So, people will say, well, you're supporting all these organizations that receive funding from the government. Well, again, to your point, number one, there's no magic button that we can just shut off this homeless industrial complex. We just can't. So we have to work alongside of the system, gradually replacing it. So we had this terrible winter. And again, one of my frustrations of many with the government is that they will take the money that we would, as libertarians, perhaps donate directly. They will create laws and barriers to entry under the guise of safety, and make it more difficult for folks like us to simply set up arrangements so that people can be safe, warm, and dry. All of that action over time. I've actually had situations where we've just set up impromptu homeless shelters, and we've been criticized and threatened quietly by government folks. We're going to need to do an inspection. We're going to need to do this. We're going to do that because, we want people to be safe. So the idiocy and the stupidity of government in asserting that it's far safer for these folks to be under the stars in 10-degree weather as opposed to in a gym or in another facility it's astonishing. And people will say this to your face. So we had this terrible situation. And
hold on, and they'll call you the bad guy.
Oh, absolutely.
They'll say, how dare you try to help these people with what you have? Don't do that. It's not the government's, therefore you're bad. So put these people out in the cold in 10-degree weather. Yeah,
and they'll be safe. So 2 city councilmen for the city of Providence, the capital city in Rhode Island, and these folks I'm very good friends with, and let's just say they're very left of center because we've built single issue coalitions here in Rhode Island on a number of levels. They call me one night and they say, you know what we're going to do? And they were laughing and they tell me this. I don't know that if I've laughed and cried as hard in my life. They did a semi-hostile takeover of the city of Providence, Rhode Island's city council chambers in City Hall and turned it, you ready for this, into a homeless shelter.
Wow.
They had about 20 of us show up, and I listen, I'm proud as hell to have been included in this. I was one of the people they called, and I showed up with food, bought some sleeping bags that night, and a lot of water. And literally the word got out. Hundreds of people showed up.
Wow.
Just hundreds. It was amazing. You had on the city council president's sort of dais, you had food set up and people walked through a food line. Wow. The people hath spoken. Yeah. So the next morning, after literally being embarrassed in front of the entire state, they gave us a space to set up this community center, which had a great little kitchen in it, actually an industrial style, small kitchen, refrigeration, big open space, cable TV. It was heated. In 24 hours, now think about the city of New York, the steps they have to go through. In 24 hours, we had a working homeless shelter set up by about a half a dozen organizations, serving meals. We had a big dinner that night. We had it every night, and it was food supplied by Libertarian Mutual Aid, Food Not Bombs, which folks will recognize as a left wing, but if you will, mutual aid organization that, by the way, does amazing work. And
let me touch that for a second. Hold on, let me touch that for a second. This is a part that people don't get when it comes to libertarians. A lot of times, mutual aid crosses all the lines. You can be left, you can be right, you can be libertarian, you can be social.
Right.
It doesn't matter. We all want to help people, and mutual aid crosses the line. In fact, I'll go one step further. For the people who are the absolute furthest left, and I mean like the communists, socialists, the furthest left, they're all about mutual aid.
yes,
They're all about it.
absolutely. So we, over a couple of weeks, and I didn't think to do this, but I'll send you the article at some point to share it, because a national press organization came in. And again, listen, I take, despite the challenges, despite the issues we're facing, I take a hell of a lot of pride in what some very good libertarians accomplish on a variety of areas, from legislation to elected office to mutual aid. There's a lot of people doing a lot of great work, and that's often lost in the sauce, if you will, of the what I call libertarian Game of Thrones. And so I am proud as hell to say that our organization was featured in the article, because what I talked about, and was given an opportunity to talk about very briefly, was the notion that so much of government sits around analyzing. What's the old cliche, paralysis through analysis? I always talk about, how many government employees can you fit on the needle of a pen, right? How many efforts can you talk about and endlessly talk about? For weeks, we had that center running. Big dinner every night, fresh big salads, no iceberg lettuce in the mix, homemade lasagna, just meals that these folks hadn't seen in some cases in a couple of years. You haven't seen people, maybe you have, Larry, because I know you're military service, everything, you're very well traveled, but a lot of folks have never seen anyone who's been truly hungry for months or longer suddenly sit down to a literal banquet.
Yes.
And
sometimes when that happens, you will find, and this, I'm talking to the audience, not you. They'll actually be stunned, like they'll be in culture shock.
Right.
Sometimes that will actually, they'll be like, wow, they'll be in culture shock sometimes. Yes.
And it's interesting you say that, because one thing I definitely saw was that homeless women, there were probably at one point a dozen or so there a night. And we made a point of putting out really good salads, not the canned or the pre-planned. We made salads from scratch, big ones. And you could tell they grabbed different food, but they sat down to these salads. It was, it's been 7 or 8 months. I get emotional about this. I think people who know me know that, I get emotional about this, because the failure of government in these situations is so profound, and yet really straightforward, basic acts of kindness can overcome the incompetence, the stupidity, the venality, the greed, the avarice of government in amazing proportions. A little bit of love, a little bit of kindness, a little bit of real libertarianism, not the whining, but the real libertarianism.
Right.
It can overwhelm these failures.
Well, you brought up a very important piece here, which is real liberty that we want to achieve, real libertarianism that we want to achieve takes responsibility. You have to have individual responsibility, community responsibility, family responsibility, because we're saying we don't want government. Well, then someone's got to do this, right? You can't walk away from it. Someone's got to do it. And I think you're doing that. You're a great example of that. And you're also getting other people to go, you know what? If Pat could do it, maybe I can too. They probably don't want your van. The van part they probably don't want, but maybe other stuff they'll take.
Listen, you're going to have a chance to see the van, because I think you and I are going to be at a dinner together in upstate New York in just a week.
That's
actually
true, absolutely.
Just a few days. So I'll be rolling in there.
Right. Will be in the at the Hudson Valley Libertarian Party Gala. That is true. That's happening in Dutchess County. I think that's correct.
Yeah,
up there.
You are correct, sir. So
absolutely.
If I can talk about, and this was unanticipated, the political implications of doing this, because remember, Rhode Island's a small state. You know, you take Staten Island and make it a state, okay? Don't even take Queens. Queens would overwhelm it. Brooklyn, yikes. So as a result of this, now I'm also I've just begun again to be the chair of the Libertarian Party of Rhode Island. And so I spend a lot of time in the State House. We've got two pieces of legislation: ballot access, party formation reform law, and then we've got defend the guard. So and because of my day job, during session, I'm in the State House sometimes 4 or 5 days a week. And I wear the shirt everywhere because it's funny. I've had people follow me up the street and I hear people laughing behind me because I know they're reading the motto.
Right.
And because we weren't offered, we weren't asked to, Libertarians in Rhode Island took a seat at the table of providing service to the homeless. Because we do it, now this is the most dreaded word in Rhode Island government. It begins with V. Remember Fonz couldn't say he was wrong? All right?
Yes.
They can't say the word volunteer. 100% of the money that we get, and I'm going to be honest, we've gotten it from some controversial sources. I think you know where. All right, 100% of the money that we get gets given away or spent on the van or gasoline. It's just, I'm not holding on to it. I'm not holding on for a rainy day because in the world of starvation and hunger and chaos and poverty in this nation, every day is a rainy day.
Yes.
So we have engaged in all sorts of nefarious activities. During the Vermont floods a couple years back, we traveled over state lines with harm reduction equipment, including crack pipes, including fentanyl test strips, including Narcan. At that time, it was pretty sketchy as to where you could drive out of state with that stuff. I don't give a shit. Excuse me. Sorry.
That's fine.
I don't give a darn.
Here we go. That's fine.
Because I'm a libertarian.
Yep.
And so
let's talk about libertarians for a minute now. You're also, this is political piece. You're also a member of the LNC, the Libertarian National Committee. You're Region 6 rep. And the thing you wanted to talk about also was the Libertarian Party is having a convention next year.
Yep.
When and how? Absolutely. Tell about that.
May 21st to the 25th. Double check the website, which I'm going to give you for the exact date. Somehow I have this mental block because I'm afraid that day's going to come someday. But it's going to be in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's going to be a 4-day convention. We're gathering in Friday morning at 10:30. By the way, you're welcome, everyone. The thought of having to get up at 9 o'clock in the morning when your 7 o'clock flight the night before actually got in at 1 in the morning, I couldn't do that to my fellow libertarians. So I want you to take that extra hour of sleep and think of me. Okay. And it's going to go till Monday afternoon. So we're going with a 4-day convention. And the reason for that is, quite frankly, the last two conventions, controversy, elections, nominations, speeches, we've run out of time. Yep. The focus on this election is going to be, this convention is going to be threefold. Number one, bylaws. Boy, do we need a checkup on bylaws. Platform, election of officers. I wanted to make sure that we had enough time to give the proper attention to all those critical issues. When I became head of what they call the COC, the Convention Oversight Committee, I had 3 primary goals. Number one, I wanted to create a committee that through volunteer and appointment was going to really reflect all sides of the party. And we've accomplished that. We've got people like Betty Rose Ryan, Steve Dosbach, Jim Turney, real veterans. They come from one party perspective. We've got a whole bunch of folks from different caucuses. So it's really representative. And, you remember
it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Well, people get in, try and get in Thursday night. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday is when convention business will take place.
So that would be May. I'm doing it right. Look at my calendar. That would be May 22, 23, 24, and 25.
Right.
And can they find this information on lp.org, or is it some other place they should go?
Well, any minute now, there will be a banner up on lp.org, but the website to go to is lnc2026.com. And that's our tradition. The old one was lnc2024.com. We've already got, I think we're in very good shape. We've got a lot of work to do yet, but you can reserve a room. We're starting to put speakers up for the first time. We just put one of our keynote speakers on. The gentleman from Polyface Farms is going to be talking about food sovereignty. We're going to have
Yes.
three or four keynote speakers. That'll be during
And
the day.
he, by the way, coincidentally, he's a big Maha fan too.
Yes. And
He is.
that was not unintentional, but he works very closely with Congressman Massey on his farm, and Mr. Massey's personal efforts, which are profound in terms of food sovereignty. So that's just the first of a couple of speakers. We're going to be announcing this week some amazing training that's going to take place, and it's going to take place in breakfast and lunch, so it won't interfere with convention business. Right? But it's a type of training. We're not going with the standard Libertarian campaign training. There'll be 2 tracks. The Leadership Institute is actually going to be running it. The first track, which I think has the potential to be amazing, is going to spend an hour and a half on Saturday morning, an hour and a half on Sunday morning with breakfast, and it's going to talk about how to manage, how to recruit and retain volunteers.
We need that desperately.
Right, and the folks at this organization are phenomenal. So they're going to really get into the psychology of how to work with volunteers. This isn't going to be just your standard. And listen, there's been some great training. I'm not diminishing any of that, but it's going to be different. It's going to be different from the standard campaign training you're going to see.
Now, hold on. Now, what if someone is not libertarian? Should they be trying to come and attend anyway, or no?
Well, we love to have everybody, because did I mention this is possibly the most significant fundraiser we're going to have in the next 2 years. And I think everyone understands the financial challenges the Libertarian Party is facing. Now,
it's true.
Let me get into how you can attend. If you're a
hold on, the guy's name is Joel Salatin. Is that him?
Yes, Joel Salatin's going to be speaking.
Joel Salatin. Yeah, make sure we got the name, but that's the guy speaking. Yes.
Right. So if you're an alternate or a delegate or a member, you can attend party business for free. And what I mean by party business is, keynote speakers who will be speaking from the convention, from the podium, and actually watch the ongoing business of the convention. There are 4 or 5 different packages you can buy. One which would be very basic, and those will be going up within a week, which will allow you into what's called the panel conversations, as well as a number of other events that are going to be free.
So are you going to have that handsome guy Larry Sharpe speak there at all?
I hope so.
That guy's really good looking. I mean, he's not that smart, but he's good looking. He says something.
Listen, at least you've got marketable skills. Me. But listen, and I wanted to make sure I brought this up. Your contribution in terms of being the fundraiser, the MC at a LNC fundraising event we had in Michigan just a few short months ago was phenomenal. You were there. We had a couple of packed rooms. Congressman Amash was there. There were some significant donors there who looked at this event and said, wow, people are excited to be there.
Yep.
The mission was made clear. The need to contribute money was made clear. Yep. And you and I are in lockstep on that. We could do an entire show talking about why you need to raise money for a political organization, why it can't be done on pixie dust and good wishes. And we both got insights into different campaigns in this last presidential circuit. It was humbling to see how far we are behind in terms of the technology and the legal structures of organizations who are outraising us exponentially.
So let me grab another comment. Christina says, Joel Salatin is a hero in regenerative agriculture. That's true. An absolute rock star. He is very popular. And again, I often talk about this. You brought it up. Single issue coalitions, right? A lot of people who are in the Maha movement don't completely overlap with libertarians. A lot of libertarians don't completely overlap with Maha, but there is overlap, and we should jump on board for all the things we do overlap and get totally in lockstep for those issues. I think that's important.
Right. And food sovereignty, some people refer to as homesteading. The state of Maine, by the way, actually has a food sovereignty clause built into their state constitution now, which allows Mainers to actually engage in large-scale, highly localized, home-based, in some cases, production of foodstuffs, which they can then sell. Imagine that. Free commerce without the nanny state. And by the way, I can tell you, as someone who grew up, remember when I was a kid, they put out that little chart on the back of your sugary cereal that said a healthy breakfast is a fried egg, toast, and bacon, and lots of orange juice, right?
Yes,
How many,
yes.
how many pendulum swings have we seen in our
So
lifetime?
many.
You
So
know,
many.
so you realize that so little of what the government's saying is actually out of concern for health. Yeah, I'll say it. It's all about posturing for economic interests. And there's no
Yes.
bigger example of that. Again, I mentioned at the onset, I'm outside of a soda company. Believe it or not, these folks bottle 4 days a week. They make soda, they put it in glass, and they use cane sugar. They don't use fructose corn syrup.
And they don't use plastic.
Correct. So this is,
Yes.
listen, soda is supposed to be a treat. I mean, you're not supposed to live on soda. But these folks, a 110-year-old company, makes soda largely the way they did 110 years ago, and it's safe, and it's better for you than the crap the government supports. And so, folks,
True.
so I was at just a few weeks ago the home, the folks, I'll call it the food sovereignty folks, of New England, and Joel Salatin's son was speaking there, and you had this. I'm just going to say this to the libertarian public. You had this 2 huge barns at this county fairgrounds, stuffed with vendors, people coming by, talking. A lot of these folks already engaged. Everyone I spoke to identified as a small L libertarian.
Yeah.
Those folks should be marching with us. As some of those folks need to be in the party. They're so smart. They're so talented. They're so passionate. They live a libertarian life, and that movement speaks to us right now. So,
all right. So before we wrap this up, Pat, tell me if there's one last message you want to give to the people who are listening, whether it's about your Libertarian Mutual Aid, whether it's about the LNC2026.com, whatever you think is the right answer.
So here's the deal. I'm going to ask folks to take a step, go into their homes, turn off their computers, walk away from the keyboard, have family support and intervention there if necessary. There are so many ways that you can live a libertarian life simply, and by doing so, provide example, provide support for what needs to happen, which for us to step away from government. When I want to talk in the convention, here's what I'm asking people. And I've asked our speakers who've already agreed to this. I'm not interested in what I call libertarian graduation speeches. I'm interested in a revival tent feel. I'm asking people to lay down their individual biases against this group, that group, this Discord, that Facebook page, whatever. Just put that down. I want people to leave Grand Rapids on fire with a mission in their hearts to take all these great ideas. Because Larry, how many times have you heard me end a speech on this? We have one advantage over everybody else. And what's that advantage?
That we're correct.
We're right.
Yes.
Exactly. We're right. So let the others get rid of the other crap, clear the deck, clear the table, sweep it away off the top of your desk and out of your heads, and just set yourself on libertarian fire. That's all I'm asking, nothing more.
I love it, brother. Thank you so much for coming out today. And I know you're out there working and taking some time out of your day to do this. I appreciate it. Guys, if you want to check him out, you can check him out in 2 different places. One is libertarianmutualaid.org. See what he's doing. Help him out. You got some time. You got some cash. You got both. Please jump on board if you can. Or check out what's happening in the LNC next year in May, LNC2026.com. And Craig wraps it up well. He says, amen, Pat. Great closing remarks. How can I do better than that?
God bless everyone.
Guys, thank you so much. I will talk to you. I'll be on later on tonight. I will see you all very soon.